The opinions expressed on the following audio program are solely those of the host and the guests. Burner Podcast is an independently produced, not-for-profit show and is not associated with the Burning Man organization or its subsidiaries. The views expressed are not representative of the entire Burning Man community and are presented here for entertainment purposes only. In short, calm the fuck down. It's just a podcast.
Hey, it's episode number 145, and it is 345 days till the man burns as of this particular recording. But, you know, by the time the episode goes up, you know, who knows? Who knows what it's going to be? I am in a very professional podcast studio, and I can kind of almost like hear it in my voice. I can hear the perfect amount of acoustics on the wall. I'm at the Jacob Center in San Diego, California, in the Barrio Logan neighborhood, and it's the full name is the Jacob Center for Neighborhood Innovation. And I am here because my collaborators and partners in rhyme, as we would say, in the old hip hop days before we started Burner Podcast, are intimately involved with multiple projects here at the Jacob Center. The other week, I actually guest lectured a class on podcasting, which was a lot of fun. The other week, the other month, I don't even know when anything is anymore. Everything is blurring together. But it was really great. It was amazing to talk to this class of aspiring podcasters who are super excited about telling stories, and they have these amazing concepts about how their podcasts are going to be. And I was feeling a lot of I was really nervous about getting up there and talking about podcasting. And then I had to literally remind myself, like, hey, dude, you've been doing this for like 12 years. Like maybe it's time that you can trust that you have some idea what you're doing. I guess that's a long roundabout way of saying imposter syndrome never, ever goes away. But anyway, very, very special thank you to Platform Collection, the staff over there at Platform Collection for setting up this amazing experience. And it was really nice to be able to have this kind of professional studio set up in order to invite some very, very special guests who are all in town for a very special gathering, for a very special summit. The way that today's show came about is Feral Jesus, who is a dear friend of the show, an amazing DJ who has played at multiple Burner Podcast sponsored events, had expressed to me that a lot of folks are coming into town from Bat Country because there is a play happening at the La Jolla Playhouse as we speak. It's possible that by the time you listen to this recording, it will have passed. But play about Hunter S. Thompson. And so Bat Country, of course, is the Burning Man born community. And I say that because they started as a camp, as you will hear in today's interview, and then became this international community of Bat Country members. And in my personal observation and opinion, and I know I'm certainly biased because I have my own experiences here, I believe Bat Country is a very strong representative of sort of that core culture of Burning Man. Bat Country's camp is often a regular stop for me at my burns. It's their fire bar is often a destination of mine when I am feeling a little bit lonely. And so it's definitely a treat and a privilege to get to to capture Bat Country story. This podcast, I often describe it to people that it's like a sonic portrait. It's the same kind of thing that I would do in a photographic portrait, but we do it in this kind of recorded capacity. So Feral Jesus, who gets to be today's contributing producer of Burner Podcast, pulled together this ragtag crew of amazing folks to do this episode with in order to capture just like a general vibe of what Bat Country feels like. Today, you'll be hearing the voices of Handful, aka Sunny, Begley, and Kip. And they will, of course, introduce themselves so that you can hear who you're hearing. And we get into some pretty amazing stories. We begin by sharing some old school Burning Man tales, you know, the good old days where you used to drive 100 miles per hour on the playa and shoot guns in the air. And the shift into having rules. Rules, they're so terrible. But yeah, we start out with some of those. Kip is the founder of SunBurn. I'm sorry, I'm mixing that up. Frostburn, which is in Pittsburgh. SunBurn comes up because Handful, aka Sunny, is deeply involved with placement and that's a New Mexico regional called SunBurn. So we're going to talk about those two things, lots of stories around those. And then about 30 minutes or so into this chat, we will talk about how Bat Country was founded. It's possible that if you're listening to this show from some other part of the country or the world, your understanding of Bat Country is the infamous Flatgate, which was a big social media firestorm because all these people basically locked their bikes in front of Bat Country and ended up getting flat tires because they kept getting warned and people weren't moving it, and that was the way they pranked back. So we'll talk about that story. I don't know if it'll make you like them anymore, but either way, we'll tell it. It's a really great chat. You'll really definitely get a good snapshot of what Bat Country's vibe is like, and we kind of wrap it up by sharing some Burning Man magical synchronicity stories because, love and light and all that other crap. So let's get into it. Today's episode, this is definitely one of my favorite titles for any episode we've ever done. Today's episode is entitled Stupider Than Burning Man. You'll get to know why it's called that. I go by Mr. Arash, even though nobody calls me Mr. Welcome to Burner Podcast.
On the first part of the journey, I was looking at all the lights. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was sand and hills and rain. The first thing I met was a fly with the balls and the sky with no clouds. The heat was hot and the ground was dry, but the air was full of sound. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name, and it felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can't remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no name.
That I'm listening to, so it was almost like listening to like a dub, of reality happening in front of me.
Right. Do a dub remix of this whole thing.
We should. We're gonna have.
If I don't ever have to hear my voice recorded, that would be great. Okay, guys.
I felt that way for the first 73 episodes of recording this podcast, and then eventually I surrendered to it. So hang out. We'll get there. I want to start with this. There was a big Bat Country outing to play last night about the patron saint of Bat Country. Is that like a fair way to describe the adventure that has brought a lot of y'all together the past 48 hours?
Yeah, very much. And the origins of this is friends of ours who are burners and puppeteers. Ian and Bridget, who do the Animal Cracker Conspiracy here in San Diego. Ian texted me like almost a year ago and was like, "You'll never believe the project I'm involved with now." And he's like, "It's a Hunter S. Thompson musical with puppets." So I've been obsessed with this idea for the better part of a year, and actually see it be real and come to fruition with all of my friends was a pretty amazing experience, and brought a lot of things full circle with us. So
tell me about the play. I want to hear it. I want to hear about that. What was the experience like?
It was a trip for me, walking right in and seeing just the backdrop. I thought alone was super cool, like, because we're used to seeing like glimpses of Hunter's place that he rode in, or from the movie Where the Buffalo Roam and things like that. And it
What was the
really
venue?
interesting. It was at the La Jolla Playhouse.
Okay. Wow.
But I wanted to just say one more thing about our group, Backcountry, is that, sort of started in San Diego, and Kip was a big part of it, and then he went to Pittsburgh and then became a regional director there, and then all the people that were interested in Burning Man there, came one year, like 20 of them came out, and so now we just have backcountry people scattered all over the country, and we're crazies, but there's so much love in the group, and I think the core is that we're all go with the flow, and everybody accepts. You found a place where you're just accepted who you are. You know?
Yeah.
And so I think this event last night was just everyone has their own opinion of it or whatever, but I think we were just basking in seeing each other that we haven't seen for a while, and it's just any excuse for a larger summit. I'm making air quotes, or a smaller one is a wonderful thing, just to connect with these people.
Yeah. It sounds lovely, and I think like anytime you get a group together with a themed gathering, a lot of times like we have. It's almost like its own little effigy, right? Like it's the thing that brings us together, but really when we're together, that's the real thing that we're getting out of it. Like here's this excuse. So to have, mascot's not the correct word, but to have like this kind of like this person that some of the mythology around Backcountry has built around, and to have that as this amazing play, and people Backcountry from all over the country, any other countries even maybe flew in to have this experience. Yeah.
And one thing I appreciated about the play is, we all understand what a flawed person Hunter was, and it's not a cult around Hunter. We sort of like take it all in, the art and the lifestyle, and then the play did a very good job of sort of taking the piss out of him and like not treating him like,
they really did take the kid gloves off.
And I appreciated
accountable
that
for who he was as a human being. And and at the same time, despite his flaws, the weird in him, like the weirdness that prevails, and that freak power aspect of Hunter was prevalent in the play. While still having a relevant voice to what was going on in politics today, right now.
They were showing how basically towards the end of his life, they were pointing out how he didn't have time for his son or his wife, and his wife left him, and that's pointed out in the show, and his son gets to be 40 years old, and basically, totally accepts him for who he is, but basically singing sad songs about how he just wasn't there, One thing that I'm not too big on musicals, but I love the subject matter, but one thing that I thought was really cool was one thing Hunter did that's kind of documented is to try to become a good writer. In the beginning, he took a summer and wrote The Great Gatsby, like word for word, just to feel the way F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Yeah,
that's a tongue twister.
It is. It is.
Say that 3 times.
F. Scott Fitzgerald. F. Scott Fitzgerald.
So, but towards the end, then they were showing all of his flaws, and he was kind of alone, and he's the actor that played him did a great job of playing an elder Hunter, and he's kind of hunkered down and not feeling good about himself and wondering what his contribution was and everything. And then a younger person comes up to him and basically tells him that he took Fear and Loathing and took the summer to write it word for word.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of a cool thing that came around.
That was my favorite part of the play. That's the part that touched me the most. That young actor was so heartfelt in his delivery of the inspiration that he was feeling about like typing that, and it tied back to the beginning of the play when Hunter was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But that touched me because it was through like reading Hunter Thompson books that there was something in me that awakened. That's how I found like my people, my Burning Man, my first original Burning Man camp in 2000. And then later, all of you weirdos.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a quick interjection here, and I'm going to have each of you introduce yourselves real quick so the listeners can associate a voice with a name.
I'm Sunny, or AKA Handful on the playa.
Such a great name.
My name is Kip. I never really got a playa name that stuck, so I'm just Kip.
Just Kip is a pretty good name.
They call me Begley in backcountry, and in a way, I wish that I just stuck with my original name. But it's people like nicknames, and I'm Begley to a lot of people forever, and I'm cool with it because I think they like saying it.
Yeah, I feel like I usually call you Begley now.
Yeah.
Like,
Can I mention where it came about? That one?
Absolutely not.
And my first was in 2002, and I was with, like Kip mentioned, the Lust Monkeys at first, but I ended up hanging with the Slut Monkeys next door, who were friends and more. But there was this English guy there, and two of them, and English people love it when Americans imitate the English accent. And anyway, so we couldn't help ourselves, So it was like, I say, old boy, care for a cup of tea, And anyway, before you know it, we were all taking accents, and even the English guy took on nicknames, and even the English guy took on a nickname of Monty, Montague Smythe, and anyway, I became Begley. And there was a Chauncey, I think, and my friend that I came out with, his name was Herschel, but we pronounced it Heschel.
Yeah. Hasha.
Yeah.
Hasha. I can't do here's the thing. I actually have family in England. I can't do any of that.
We were both, to prepare for the heat, wearing like thin skirts, And so we're in his tent, and this is our first time, and I just blurt out, Heschel, my son, at the rate you're going, man, you're liable to wind up in the middle of the desert, in a tent, freeballing it in a skirt, sniffing cocaine with another man. You get me?
Yeah. I've definitely had a lot of experiences where at some point I have that conversation with myself in my head where I'm like, if this is the way I'm going out, this is the way I'm going out. I think it's part of the experience.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's just, it's so great just to feel good, letting go and rolling with it,
Do you think 2002 was your first burn?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to get those like first burn stories out of the way.
Yeah, sure. Mine was 1997, and I had was reading Wired magazine, and it was the tiniest little blurb of like things to do, and it was like the party you've never heard of, and it was just a picture of the man. Like it couldn't have been more than like 3 inches high, but I was just immediately like fixated on this, and like I need to go to this thing, and I didn't know how I would get there or who I would go with, but at the time in San Diego, I was living in San Diego. 92.5 The Flash was a radio station, and they used to do these trips to different places, but it was usually like Vegas or a ski resort. And then the one month they were like, we're going to Burning Man, and I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is like fate. And the thing is, I'll never get a better deal in my life. For $92.50, they took 2 people on a bus to the burn, which included your ticket.
Oh my God!
And they supplied all the food, which was sponsored, all the beer, which was sponsored, and the DJs were our drug dealers, which with the drugs weren't free, but that was okay. So they took 25 of us out there on this bus, and they said, okay, now listen, we're not really allowed to promote the station here. So one morning at like 5 a.m., we're going to put the big sign of the station up and take pictures real fast because we have to pretend like we're promoting here. So basically, the DJs were getting over and just wanted to go to Burning Man and have sponsors pay for it. So it was an incredible deal, but also that's just what got me like, okay, I got to Burning Man that way, and I just went with one friend of mine who I talked into it, and not my girlfriend at the time who wouldn't go, and then that ended shortly after. So once I came back, I'm like, well, you probably should have gone to this. Yeah. And
I went to Burning Man, and all I got was this crappy T-shirt about breaking up with my girlfriend.
Yeah, and the funny thing about being there in '97 was I already had people telling me, well, you've already missed the good years, because '96 was the Helco year. And like '97 was the first year with rules where, there were roads so you wouldn't get run over in your tent and people couldn't bring guns and shoot at cars. Yeah. So I already had people telling me, we already missed the good stuff.
Did you say the Helco year? Uh-huh. What is that?
So '96, there was a camp that did sort of an aggressive takeover of Burning Man, which was half in jest, but it was very also real. And they called themselves Helco. And you can look up stuff about it and see photos, and like they had like mock satanic rituals, and like it was totally like hell has come to Burning Man, and like even more chaotic. And I do wish I had seen that, but 97 was still pretty great. It was the last year you actually got to go to the hot springs, and before they realized, well, we're gonna fuck that all up. So yeah,
let me tell you this. It's funny. So doing this podcast for the past 10 years is what has completely desensitized me to when people say you've already missed it.
Right.
Because 10 years I've been talking to burners going in different generations, and every single person's story is, oh, you missed it. It was cool, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Now it's gone to shit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Like in 97, I still have people telling me, well,
You know the thing, like,
it's tame now.
Next year.
Like you get people that haven't been there or whatever, and they see whatever news thing, and they're like, oh, I hear it's so commercial right now. Yeah. And my response is always like, there's always been money there. There are people that go out there a month in advance and make these giant domes and everything. But it's like being mad at New York City. It's like because you don't like seeing the Wall Street guys or something. It's like it is what you focus on, and there's fantastic stuff going there. Even geographically, or it's like you have alkali dust in the air, which makes the moon look orange, and the sunsets and sunrises look neon. You can see the Milky Way galaxy. It's really fantastic, and I think people that just dismiss it like that,
it's the same thing I tell people.
It's ridiculous.
I'm like, it's silly. You're going to a city. It's up to you which part of the city you want to visit.
Right.
Exactly.
Every single thing in life is either an opportunity or obstacle. It's how you choose to look at it.
Yeah.
Exactly. But make choices.
Get that mic kind of closer to you. Can move the mic kind of closer to you. That would work. So you can lean back. It's just like, I think, like, as a city is growing, I just kind of describe it to people. It's like going to a city that happens to have a lot of parties at it. You could totally go multiple years and never party. And I know a lot of people who do that because it's such a massive experience and it's impossible to grasp. And even when people go multiple years in a row, we still get out there and the first experience we have is like, holy shit, I can't believe how huge this thing is.
One thing that's a trip that someone that's never been there would never think about is that yes, there's a lot going on there, and it can be sensory overload. But in one direction, there's the great nothing as far as the eye could see. anytime you want to, you could just like ride your bike or walk into a place where it's completely silent and there's like nothing going on. You know, it's really interesting. That way.
Yeah. You can definitely be alone if that's what you need. Yeah. What is since we're doing our first year stories, now we're gonna need yours.
My first year was in 2000. I went 2000, 2001, 2, 3, 4. I kind of hit it hard when I first started burning in. I was in my 20s.
Doing it right.
It was like my one annual trip away from my daughter that I would take for myself. I've always been in love with regionals more than even the big burn. Like I've been I'm from Colorado originally, and so I was at Apogea when it was still Geodesica, and I've always been participating with that community. Now I live in New Mexico and have been placement lead for the last 3 years. Until this year, took a break.
Ah, nice. Yeah, it's funny you say New Mexico. I the synchronicities that happen on this podcast. Like coming into this episode, I was drinking my coffee from New Mexico, and it's from like Black Mesa Coffee Company, which is this bizarre
Pinon coffee.
The chocolate pinon.
Yeah.
Wow. There's been like this whole mystery behind it because we've been trying to like learn about it.
Nut.
Yeah.
You just have pine nuts. Pinon is pine, right?
Yeah. It's like the chocolate pinon, but it's like the only place to get it is like in the airport. So you can tell me where I can get more of this. Excellent. So placement in New Mexico. Tell me about the New Mexico regionals.
Well, like I said, I just took this last year off. It's called SunBurn. It's usually 4th of July weekend. And when I first moved to New Mexico and have been doing the off-grid house building, living off, on land and doing all that for a while. That I haven't really actually been to burning and doing burning things. Then one day I'm walking down the street in Albuquerque, have just left this little sort of party thing that somebody had told me, oh, you should go check out these belly dancers or whatnot. And as I'm leaving, some woman yells across the street, she's like, hey, you look like a lot of fun. You should come back to my house. And that is how I met our friend Momo.
Nice.
And how I ended up meeting people and became a part of this club, Backcountry. I was actually patched in during the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
I'm one of the newer bats.
Yeah.
And I've camped with Backcountry at the Big Burn one time. But being involved with New Mexico burners, we do SunBurn, and it was a really special burn for the last 3 years. Before this year, it was at an Old West movie set. And so it was kind of fun to do placement in a place that it was like, okay, you're going to be in the bank, you're going to be in the brothel, and working with that. But we also had a lot of neighbors. Yeah. Being on a sound stage and having to, have a noise ordinance. It was a hard place to have a burn when you had a 10 o'clock ending date for noise outside. Yeah, the different challenges that come with the different spaces. I've always been particularly interested in how each regional has like the flavor of that region, like grid mapped over the burn experience, or vice versa. Like I'm not sure which one, or is the burn experience grid mapped over. So I'm curious, like as a newer New Mexico resident, what is your observation about like how like that one's different from your previous experience in Colorado and then also like Big Burn? I guess regionally, it's different in the sense that, like, in Colorado, it's out in these mountains and stuff. Right now, Apogea is actually on the southern border of, like, almost near New Mexico. Before, it was up in Begley, Colorado, and on a lake, we used to build floating geodesic domes and take boats back and forth to each other. But yeah, and obviously if you're in a movie set, if you're at an Old West movie set, it kind of lends itself to like a bunch of space cowboys at this burn. Yeah. So we've had a lot of fun. Yeah. This last burn was in Roswell.
Man, that sounds rad. The floating domes. I'd like to check that out.
It was really cool.
I'm very curious how the Roswell experience.
I wasn't there. We actually stayed home. My partner and I just bought a house and a bit busy. So, but some of Backcountry came to our house and we got to have a more intimate thing. Sometimes you meet a camp and you're like, oh, I actually don't want to leave camp and I just want to be with my friends.
I did hear no one came back from Roswell. No one knows what happened.
And the government's denying it ever happened.
Right. Yeah. We shouldn't even talk about it. We're going to edit this out.
It's just weather balloons. This whole podcast is a weather balloon. It doesn't exist.
If I can talk about regionals real quick. So Begley can attest to being at this. So when I left San Diego in 2005 and I moved to Pittsburgh, one of the first things I wanted to do was meet burners. So I was like, well, I'll contact our regional, and we didn't have a regional. So so I contacted Burning Man and said, hey, I want to be the regional of Pittsburgh. And they go, okay, how long have you been there? I'm like, a few months. And they go, but I'm from here. I went to college here. And I'm like, well, okay. So they let me become the regional. And then I got to meet our friend Momo and some other great folks. And we're like, well, we should do a regional. And the calendar was pretty full. So like, well, let's do it in the winter. And and we started a regional called Frostburn. And at the time, climate change has changed this quite a bit now. But at the time, in like 2006 or so, doing a regional in President's Day in February in Pittsburgh, man, it's going to be between 20 and 30 and between 6 inches to 2 feet of snow.
Degrees?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of the reverse challenge of being in the desert, where you're going to be very cold. And so the challenge to all the participants is to share warmth, literally and figuratively.
Wow.
So people would come out with like their 4-season tents or build yurts and lots of fires, and it went really well, and it's been going on since. So I don't even go anymore because I'm now old and weak, and I don't do it anymore. But I respect those who do, and we had someone from Burning Man come out because they like to send people to different regionals, and she at the time said, this is even stupider than Burning Man. And so that became the main header of the website, stupider than Burning Man.
Oh, that's really good.
So I tell everyone should come to Frostburn at least once, and now it's more of a mud burn, and it'll be like 40 to 50 degrees, but there's always a chance it'll get snowy.
I love that so much because it's one of the running themes of all these interviews I've done over the 10 years is always like that moment when you're looking around at like whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah.
Hanging on an art project with a hammer, wearing a dress, and it's like 4 a.m, and you're trying to fix this light issue that happened, and like, the fuck am I doing with my life right now?
Yeah, no, there's many Frostburn moments where you're just freezing and on too much of one thing or another. Like, oh, this is a poor choice. And then 10 minutes later, you'll be having a great time again.
I flew out to one of those. It was really great.
You came to a snowy one. It was good.
Yeah, I was split up amicably with my wife, and but I was going through a weird time. I lived in a house for a long time and had a great art studio and stuff, and then and this friend, Monty, actually was living in Pittsburgh at the time and did a trade for me with a painting. And he got a painting that I shipped to him. And then he was going to give me a Frostburn experience, including airfare and stuff. So I went there, and it was so fantastic to just completely leave the scene and whatever was going on here and go there and go into cold. I'm from Michigan originally, so it's kind of nice to dip into that. But it was fantastic. There's this guy there that made a sauna that used logs to burn, and it was incredible.
Wow.
This guy named Tepe, right?
Yeah.
I just want to tell a little story from that time. So there was this little dome there, and these guys had a oven where they were making pizzas in there, and I think it was called the Bicycle Dome. Mm-hmm. And they were right by where I was. Monty, by the way, he built a hexi yurt for me, and this particular place had electricity, so I had a teeny heater in that, so it was pretty nice. Like I wasn't suffering at night or whatever, but
you had different times of the day to suffer.
Right.
So anyway, one night I was there, and when I get in a festive mood, I will start to blurt out some of the voice impersonations that I can do. And this one guy there could do a really good Christopher Walken, and I kind of like learned to do a little bit from him. The catchphrase is always "I'll be damned," you know. And so, but anyway, one day, and I can do a Jack Nicholson, and so the place was packed. There were 40 people in this tiny dome, and I had a Sharpie marker and was giving people mustaches. And there was a big line. Everyone in there was in a line to get a Sharpie mustache. Oh. And that guy was...
The thing that usually happens to me when I pass out drunk is the thing that people were lining up for to take on purpose. All right.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
This guy...
Stupider than Burning
This guy remained in the Christopher Walken voice the whole time, and I was doing the Jack Nicholson, and I was like, I made that one a little bit curly. You know? But the reason I'm telling this story is this epic thing happened where this guy patiently waited in line, and then finally he came up, and he had a full beard and mustache.
Oh my God!
And he had this really sad look in his face, you know, and he just looked at me like, and he pointed with both of his hands up to the beard like, how am I gonna get a mustache with this beard? And I looked at the sadness in his eyes, and without hesitation, I said, monocle. and then I drew like a circle around his eye, you know, and I made like the little line thing to the side, and I go like this. Yeah. And he pinched his fingers up by the corner of his eye, and he turned, and everybody cheered, you know, and he was so happy, and he gave me the biggest hug. Anyway.
That's beautiful. I love that. That is master level artistry, might I say, Begley. I want to jump back. Handful, you had said that you'd camped with Bad Country at the Big Burn 2019
was my first year, and at that time I was prospecting. You know about our Backcountry, and we prospect our new club members.
Tell me about that process.
So, you know, Hunter wrote Hell's Angels, and when researching motorcycle club culture, well, Kip, you tell us, because
yeah, sure. So I'll just go back to the origins of Backcountry. Yes. And Hunter passed away in 2005, and a number of us were going to the Burn that year, and we didn't really have a camp theme, and it was myself and Horseshoe and a few others were just the mayor, and we're just talking about, okay, what should we do this year? And we all loved Hunter, and we're like, let's honor Hunter somehow. And so one of us came up with a brilliant idea to call the camp Backcountry. Mm-hmm. And it was just going to be a one-time thing, let's just honor Hunter this year. And we went out, and the camp went off so well, and the response to the camp went off so well. We're like, well, this is us now. This is what we do. And right away we had people like, can I be part of this camp? They were asking at Burning Man, can I be a part of this? And we're like, oh, sure, or fuck off, either way.
What did you? Fuck off is always one of the options,
right?
What did you do that year that stood out? Did you have themed events, or was it just simply the community aspect?
We definitely created some sort of tribute art, to. I think we made flags that had the Gonzo fist, and then we had a flaming bar, a bar that had a propane effect with it, which was always dangerous and a great idea.
Yeah.
And it was pretty bare bones, but it's still just the vibe of it was really good. We didn't have a big sound system, but we still played music, and
we do now.
Yeah. And it just was the spirit of it, really, and then and then in the years since, it grew both in people and in scale, to the point where in 2008, when, you know, Burning Man itself had noticeably grown. It was a big city by then. The placers liked backcountry so much that I would almost, with hubris, request Esplanade, and we'd get it. and we're like, we want to be on the Esplanade, even though we were still spending, you know, like $5-6 grand for camp, and we had camps on either side of us that were like $100,000 and $75,000. And what was funny is, you know, some of these mega camp people would come into our camp and be like, man, all I do is work. You guys just have fun all day, you know, not to, you know, begrudge what anyone else is doing, but like we never took ourselves very seriously, other than that we were going to have a really good time and you know, try to bring that spirit forth of yeah, we're just trying to, you know, promote freedom and what
yeah, I want to say it's funny, part of what I was looking for in this interview is figuring out where to articulate this opinion that I've always had, which was I can sense when I am around backcountry that it perfectly captures the Burning Man ethos in the way that I know Burning Man to be. So when I have conversations with burners and non-burners alike, where they have like a certain image of what Burning Man is, and it's a lot of like sparkly hugging shit, and my experience has been like there's tons of that. It's fantastic. I'm not a fan of it, but when I spend time at backcountry or around backcountry events, there's just like an intuitive sense of like, this is more deeply connected to the roots of Burning Man's energy than whatever it is that people are looking at on Instagram and saying this is what Burning Man is, right? And I have never been able to quite put my finger on it, but I feel like the way you described right now what it was, it kind of captured that I've been trying to convey. Like that sense of like, let's not take ourselves so fucking seriously. Let's have such hubris to request Esplanade because I can fucking be here. I can do whatever I want. You know?
Right, yeah.
This whole thing's make-believe anyway. Who gives a shit?
Yeah. And if I have one quick story that sort of to me like says like what we did and who we are there is, you know, to kind of to emulate the spirit of Hunter, you know, you're going to sort of be an asshole sometime or sort of, you know, at least pretend to be an asshole. And, you know, and we wear like motorcycle colors and you know, not a lot of glitz and glam. So, you know, some people are intimidated by that. And now I remember it was probably, I think 2008 that I'm sitting at the bar, and I see this woman sort of like hobbling over on a crutch, and she's kind of like looking around warily, and I, you know, could sense she wants to sit at the bar, and she comes over to me and she goes, "Are you people nice?" and I whispered to her, "We are, but don't tell anyone." And so she sits at the bar, and she had broken her leg at Burning Man. Was just having a rough time, like said her couldn't really stay with her friends, you know, and so we're just, you know, giving her all the drinks that she wants, and then she ended up hooking up with this guy who came from Austin who had this beautiful RV, and they went and had a nice time on the RV together. And then the next morning she comes out of this RV and comes up and give me the biggest hug, and she goes, "You are nice."
That's excellent.
I was like, all right.
But still don't tell anybody.
Just a word on
Yeah.
a little word on, like he said, the biker thing or whatever. Well, but, you know, obviously Hunter wrote the Hell's Angels book, and so someone, I can't remember who did it, but in our camp, you know, made. Not that we're trying to be like, you know, whatever bikers represent, but someone made colors, you know, like, but it said backcountry, Black Rock City.
Yeah.
And back in the day when someone first made it, they made them. It was really cool patches, and I forget what the cost was, but Miss Kitten or Holly or somebody made them, and it was like you gave them $25, and then you got your patches, and that was it. And then to go back to like what Sonny was saying, flash forward 15, 20 years, now people have to like go through this process of like, well, I'm recommending so-and-so, if they want to be in, and you got to get vouched for by people, and
it's always easier to get in on the ground level.
No, and then
y'all missed out.
Right.
And then,
I could have been backcountry for $25.
And then nobody gets worse, because we joined here locally. We had these awesome parties called the shit shows on this piece of desert land.
I've been to one.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I don't remember half the night.
I think I remember you from then. Yeah.
And I lost my favorite coat.
So you experienced the Bastards Bar, the fire bar. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Los Bastardos.
I tracked down every Burning Man. I tracked down that bar, and of course I spent time at it at Utopia in San Diego as well. And it is one of my home spaces. I've had a lot of like nights when it's 3 a.m. I've lost whatever crew I'm with, and I'm like, I need to go find the fire bar. That's where I'm going to end up.
And by the way, listeners, it's like I believe it's a pentagon shape. Pentagon or hexagon shaped bar, but the fire is where you would put your arms or your drinks on a bar. There's like a metal tube that goes all along there where you normally would put your arms. Instead, there's like 6-inch flames coming up all the way around.
I love bartending there, and when someone asks me for ice, and I just laugh at them.
And then every now and then,
I've been there for the ones that scream "fuck ice."
Like they have to. It's good to blow flames through the tube, so they go fire in the hole, and there's a huge propane tank behind, and they go.
We the bartenders get to play with the poofer nozzles and stuff. It is the funnest bar to bartend at.
Yeah.
But at the shit show, back to the patches thing, they would do a thing where these poor bastards that like came along late would get spanked, and I'm talking about people would bring horse whips. Cheryl brought a couple different kinds of horse whips and 2x4s. Oh, these poor. And it was just...
I am so tempted to just call this episode stupider than Burning Man.
Right. Yeah, it's a good idea.
I feel like it's the running theme.
Yeah, and I just remember saying, like, I don't like doing this. I don't like spanking people with a horse whip, but it turns out I'm really good at it. I just know how to just do that. Snap.
That's amazing.
I'm so glad that we didn't do it.
I actually wanted to close that loop, which is where I kind of started asking you questions, handful, about your process coming in. And it looks like originally, we kind of broke that down. It used to be just here's some patches.
Yeah.
At what point, can you kind of get into that story? At one point, did it start to come together as like, there's a process here. We can't have, 10,000 members.
Yeah,
How does that work?
I think that's what it was. We realized, okay, when we were giving them out just to like anyone who came to Burning Man, that there were some people who fell off, and we're like, well, are they bats or not? They have patches. Does it matter? And then we're like, well, maybe we don't just give them to everybody. Maybe we think about this. And just sort of organically became a process because, it began to mean a little more to us every year that like, oh, wow, we're continuing to do this. And it's now going off the playa that we started to have, which I almost exclusively do now. I haven't been to the Big Burn since 2010. And I go to regionals, but we're within backcountry we do, which we're here right now for. We essentially call these summits, where we come for an event, and we've done.
When we get more than 3 bats together representing 2 different states, it can be a summit.
It's kind of like
it doesn't take much.
It's like a mini one, but
but you have to have someone from out of state.
But we've had 2 major ones in Vegas because obviously Fear and Loathing. But the first one that was at the Golden Spike, try to comment on that. Kip.
Oh dear God! Yeah, that was
like a sort of a shitty little casino hotel.
Yeah.
There's a hotel called the Golden Spike.
Yeah. There is, and we specifically chose it because it was about to be essentially gutted and renovated. So they didn't care what we did.
This was in Vegas?
In Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know in Reno, I've walked into a lot of those kind of hotels where they have stickers sitting outside saying no patches allowed.
Yeah. No, the Gold Spike didn't care what we did, and it was downtown Fremont. It was dirty, and I think we broke an elevator, a stripper pole.
Let me comment on the elevator real quick. So like,
I want to hear more about the stripper pole.
well, okay, no, just a quick thing. Oh, and we DJs out by the pool and stuff, but like idiots, one day we just decided, let's see how many people we can get in the elevator. And it was, It wasn't like a modern, awesome elevator, you know. It was in some shitty little 3-story building or something. And anyway, we packed it, and it went up like about 4 feet and just went kank, and just stopped. And people had a lot of heads full of whatnot.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were just sweating balls.
I was about to go die hard through the elevator roof because I was getting so claustrophobic.
A lot of people were having a hard time with it.
But you got out,
I was gagged by the phone.
We got out.
I was like, anyway, the elevator broke. Can you please someone help us fix this thing?
And then we never heard a word about it. Yeah. We never heard a word about it. But yeah.
Shout out to the Golden Spike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's all redone and nice. We wouldn't go there.
Yeah. So tell me about how you developed the process of like how you select what you can talk about. I imagine you can't talk about all of it.
No. And honestly, like from coming from the beginning, to see it grow to what it is now, like it's almost hard to believe, you know, because like I don't even know how many people are patched now or consider themselves bats. I'm sure it's well over 100, and the furthest one away is Finland, and I have had a Helsinki summit.
Shout out to Nelson.
Yeah, so there has. I think that's the most, definitely the most northern summit has been Helsinki, and yeah, we're just all. It is all over the world now. So it is nice to know that you can visit bats from all over, and the process typically is okay. You've met this person who hears about or what we do, and they're like, or you just feel like they would fit into this group, and it just sort of, hey, yeah, you make a like, hey, everyone meet my friend here, and if occasionally there has been some where it's like, oh, I don't think so, or though someone will have opinions that I've seen this person do this or this person do that, and it doesn't work out, and that's happened, and but typically the person vetting someone has thought about it and it works out. And I mean, I think this year there's probably become maybe three new people patched. Yeah. And yeah, it's just our own little family, and it's just it makes it nice to travel places and to have someone that will show you around and treat you well, and and even more than that, like with a lot of
any one of these people would bail me out of jail in a heartbeat.
I have 3 times.
Not me. Not yet, kid.
Yeah,
the day is young.
Yeah, the night is young. I always say that. The night is young. I often I kind of keep going back to like that sense of not taking yourself so seriously, and you'd referenced the woman that came and said, "Are you nice?" Which I don't have like exact stories, but I feel like that's like a thing that I have picked up when I've been around Bat Country and the Fire Bar. Like it has this like external image of being mildly terrifying, but then underneath it, it's nice, which is, again, like to me, that's a way that I would describe a lot of the core of Burning Man.
We're actually one of the safest camps, I think, on Playa, and at regionals. I've had I've had young women say, I love your bar. I feel the safest here. You guys look like you're scary, but I know that if somebody tried to put something in my drink, 18 people would beat the shit out of them.
Yeah.
Like, we are our own regulators. We don't need the rangers because we take care of our people, and we also take care of people around us. I think that there's something really special about the way that we handle ourselves, and maybe have a little gruff exterior. I've been accused of not being radically inclusive, and at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but maybe this is how we choose to radically self-express, is by keeping our reins tight.
Yeah. No, I this is anecdotal as a podcaster, observer, friend of the community, but like that's always been my experience as well.
Yeah.
Observing. I always share my own biases for the listeners. Full disclosure: if you're too sparkly, I have a little harder time trusting you.
If you're too sparkly, you can't get ice at my bar.
One little joy that I've had in the past, like at Burning Man, is people that. I'm nothing against LA, but people that come out there and their big costume is like Elvis glasses, and they think that's going to protect them from dust, and they're drinking too much, so they're dehydrated, and a dust storm is happening. And you just see some of these clowns with maybe a sparkly vest on and Elvis glasses, just it's not going well for them, and experienced people are, geared up with the right goggles and so forth. It just kind of makes me happy.
Yeah.
The way that I get happy when people get frustrated in a line at a store and they start going, God,
yeah. That German word, Schadenfreude.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Schadenfreude.
Yeah. It's the phrase that kind of keeps popping into my head is the old saying: the brighter the picture, the darker the negative. I need to see a hint of your darkness. That's how I trust you.
Yeah.
I think I need to, on this podcast, talk about the big bald story.
Well, I honestly, I think what can't get lost is rather when we had to occasionally go to use a bit of aggression, and we did have a group of French interlopers think that they could just live on our cargo truck, and Begley was called into action to have to remove these stowaways.
Okay,
and
that's
I think you
Just
should,
like the French, to just go start a colony.
right, exactly, colonizing our truck. So it required some aggression.
I'm glad.
So it was like at the end of the week, and Pittsburgh had come and had a big moving truck with maybe 20 people that flew in, and then a couple people took one for the team and drove that moving truck across the country, full of all their tents and gear and bikes and everything else. They all emptied it and enjoyed the burn. That's the year we were on the Esplanade. And anyway, when the guy, Tepe, went to look at his truck and pull it up, there were a bunch of French hippies in there, and they were like having an orgy in there. And they
Hold on, is this a different French hippie story? Or is it the
they
same one?
pretended that they didn't speak English, and he wasn't getting through to them, and they weren't leaving. They were just staying in there.
Continuing to have an orgy.
Yeah. And so he was
Typical French
really
colonizer.
frustrated, and he didn't know what to do about it, And I was kind of bit of a madcap in our camp, I was rolling with like a pith helmet or a top hat and some crazy drawn-on mustache and whatnot. And somebody had just given me a bullhorn, and I was staying longer than everybody else. So people are leaving, and I'm fully relaxed, no doubt, head full of acid, and just kicking it. And it just so happens that there was this girl from Pittsburgh, charming girl named Flora, who's a French girl. And so she's there. And so this guy, Tepe, comes running up, and he tells us exactly what's going on. And he goes, damn it. He's like, Begley, can you come fucking help get these French hippies out of the truck or do something? And I go, French hippie, and sometimes I find myself, when I'm kind of head full of whatever.
Did you start channeling?
Almost
Hunter?
imitating Hunter.
Okay.
Yeah, like I go.
It's like a spirit came through.
French hippies, you say? Come on, Floor, we've got work to do. We approach there, and I whip up the truck, and I'm like, French hippies, you've got 60 seconds to leave. 60, 59. 58! Get the fuck out of here! 56! Floor, take over now. And she's yelling at them in French. And then, well done, Floor. And then I'd, 54! 50, get out! And then in between, I would just say whatever madcap thing came to my head, like, there's a man coming here to cut off your feet! He's gonna make feet soup! Get the fuck out! 52! And now they're starting to scamper and they're throwing their shit out of the truck,
They're looking for their clothes.
Oh God, they're just, imagine
somebody's having a cappuccino real quick before they run out.
Just echoing in this truck and
being translated, luckily for them.
Yeah, they're hearing their native tongue, too. Yeah. And there's just a wall of people behind us just howling,
Yeah. I have a list of things I've been hoping to learn on 10 years of doing this podcast, and one of them was how to break up a French orgy. And now I know.
It's a bullhorn and a native speaker.
Yes, exactly. And saying a bunch of nonsense.
And feet soup.
That's excellent policing. I feel like it's like a great example of ways that burners are great at kind of like handling a situation on their own rather than running and getting authorities.
Right.
But it was like for us, it was kind of like theater. Like I wasn't angry really. Yeah. They didn't really anger me, but I was just tasked with. It
was an opportunity.
As an opportunity.
Yeah. There was we were listening to this podcast on the drive back from the burn this year, and it was breaking down. I'm not going to remember any of this correctly, but it was a mayor of a city implemented this experiment that was like based on a study that they'd done in the past about like how they could lower petty crimes and kind of like and they had like issues like, for example, in like some intersection where they had people getting hit by cars or almost causing accidents, things like that. So what they did was he hired a bunch of mimes to stand on the street corner, and whenever somebody would break one of these, like one of the infractions, the mime would just point at them, like very mime-like, like over the top. And they found that they had a measurable decline in these infractions. And I just keep thinking about that. I'm like, there's so many more amazing ways to move forward with community and enforce, for lack. I mean, what's the other word for enforcement, right? Like addressing it by actually having fun with it rather than like becoming more angry and filled with rage and pushing against it where they have to push back.
Yeah, that the other instance that comes to mind is I swear the placers were just fucking with us and thought this would be funny, but the one year they put backcountry next to this village called Hushville, and Hushville, their thing is like, we're a quiet camp, like this is peaceful and quiet here, and so one afternoon, where someone's DJing drum and bass at a fairly reasonable level, this woman, I'm just going to call her Karen, comes over from Hushville and is like, don't you know your camp next to Hushville? You need to turn this down. Our whole camp is that we like it quiet. And like, well, okay, this is going to be fun. And like, we didn't even wait for a response, just told us to turn it down. So she left, and we pretty quickly put on some Dutch gabber.
Dutch gabber?
Yeah, it's a 180 BPM hardcore electronic music, God, which has a lot of horror movie samples, and it's pretty terrible. Maybe put a sample in later, but
it's a full-on assault.
Yeah, and so we turn that up. So then this other guy comes over, much more apologetic, And he's like, I'm sorry. I know Karen came over and yelled at you, but could you please just, even if you turn it down to where it was before, that would be okay. We're like, well, we will, but not right now. and then throughout the week, there was more bullhorn justice. The mayor of Backcountry would sort of like circle around Hushville at like 4 or 5 in the morning with the bullhorn going through a bullhorn. Shh, this is Hushville. Everyone be quiet. So whispering through a bullhorn for, as long as the acid was in his head. And we're pretty sure they chose not to do that again.
The phrase blowhorn justice is definitely a winner takeaway for this episode too.
Yeah.
Hushville. This was on Esplanade?
It was not on Esplanade.
Okay.
We were like back on F that year, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was about to. Yeah, that's a good question. Who was placement fucking with? You or them?
Both really.
Placement put Backcountry in 2019 right next to the 747.
Hey, should you mention the Hare Krishnas?
Oh, I mean, that was another one. The other year we were right next to the Hare Krishnas. I was not there that year. I heard it went okay.
You weren't there? You were there. Didn't you have to talk to the cops with a head full?
No, that was 2008.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to hear both those stories.
Sure. 2008 was the American Dream year. So it was like Backcountry's like made for this. Like this is our year. So we're, as huntered up as we can be. We had a carousel bar, which the carousel bar in Fear and Loathing, we're like, we're going to recreate that. We're going to build a carousel bar. And pretty quickly on, we realized the motor will not turn the carousel that we brought. So we had to do some quick engineering. And what we ended up coming up with is basically tying the carousel to a golf cart and basically keeping the gas pedal of the golf cart down with a brick and just letting it drive around the carousel. Which was incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, so somebody had it, but I forget who did it. I don't know if Tony did it, but but it was genius the way that they made it. Like somebody got this big metal thing that you connected planks of wood to. It was probably 20 feet diameter or something, but it actually did spin. It was pretty amazing. But yeah, it was very dangerous and. It was Larry Harvey himself came to our camp that year because I was still a regional. And so we had a meeting at, every other regionals get to meet with Larry at Burning Man. I'm like, Larry, you got to come to my camp Backcountry and see this carousel bar we did. And so Larry comes into camp and he's like, oh God, that thing looks dangerous. I'm like, thank you, Larry. So Larry himself was a little wary of this thing. And
Larry.
Yep.
That's a good rhyme.
And then this year, someone had a friend of a friend come into our camp, and they were selling drugs like from our camp, which is a no-no. Like the one thing Backcountry does is like, we don't have drugs here. If anyone asks for drugs, no one has drugs. We don't even really know about drugs. Yeah, we're just literary fans. And but someone was in our camp like selling drugs, and myself and the mayor of Backcountry were on a number of hits of acid, and the cops come into our camp, and we're like, we're looking for so and so, and we think they're selling drugs, and like we didn't know who they're talking about. But right away we just snap into like being sensible somehow, and they're like looking at us. They're looking at the scene. They're like, I feel like we had to do Jedi mind tricks. So they look at the bar. We're like, never mind that. These aren't the robots you're looking for. And they're just looking around like, what? So what's your guys' deal? Like, oh, we're bikers. And that seemed to like settle them down. Like that they could put into context. They're
strange.
Like, oh. Bikers, okay, yeah, okay, we understand that, like it was almost easier for them to deal with thinking that we were bikers, and so we found, we knew pretty much who everyone was and where they were. And there was this one truck. And I'm like, I think that's it. And, you hate narking anyone out, but these people shouldn't have even been there. And this poor, sick woman's in the back of this truck. And, they dragged her out and arrested her. But, it wasn't our problem anymore. Yeah. So thank God. She wasn't part of our camp. She just was in an unfortunate situation. And, but having to deal with that at the time, because there was a brief time like, if we can't find this person, we're gonna have to search every tent, and that would have gone really poorly for almost everyone. So to get out of that was an amazingly lucky. We felt a little blessed there. We're
that's actually kind of an interesting conundrum. Does Bat Country get more law enforcement attention than anybody else because of the Hunter S. Thompson themed aspect?
Absolutely. We've had 2 people in camp busted. Both were part of stings where our one buddy Seth was some guy was just working him all afternoon. Man, I really would love to get some mushrooms.
He entrapped him.
Yeah.
He showed him what appeared to be joints. He's like, hey, do you got anything to trade for this? And this guy, Seth, is the sweetest guy, and he's just like, no, I don't have anything. I mean, I have this mushroom punch that I'm sipping on. The guy's like, click, click, and took him off the playa. And took him to jail.
Yeah. The fucking cop told him he loved him at one point.
I understand how they have to have law enforcement just in case something happens.
Sure.
But the notion of undercover cops, I think, is completely fucked.
Oh yeah. Do we know which department it was, which agency it was?
I don't know, but
I'm not an expert in this. But my very limited understanding, is that because there's 4 or 5 different, I think, agencies that
usually Nevada is there for the money, the ticket. I mean, I've gotten pot smoking weed on.
Really?
Depends on which level you're getting in. Bureau of Land Management is more kind of higher level land protection.
But they're working
type stuff.
together, and there were definitely, obviously, people with plain clothes that were, and then said, "Hey, we've got 2 girls smoking pot," and then immediately we had 2 female LEOs over us with flashlights.
Yeah, we had last year, 2019, we had a couple of undercovers come into our camp, and it was an older man and an older woman, and they were pretending not to know each other. They just rolled in coincidentally at the same time. And then next thing I know, one of them sitting there with a white powder on his phone. He'd set up lines on his phone in the middle of the wind, by the way, sitting in the open part of it. None of this is the behavior of somebody who's ever done drugs before. It's ridiculous.
Right.
It was absolutely.
I'm
what are you doing? And we literally had to chase them out of our camp. But all of their behavior was bizarre and inexplicable, and they were pretending to act it was all very
asked me at
gross.
the bar if I knew how to get any cocaine, and I'm like, "Oh, you can't be at this bar. We don't do that here at our camp. I'm
sorry.
Go to
Columbia.
Yeah.
Let me
either you're undercover or you're a fucking idiot. Either way, you gotta go.
Either way, you don't belong at this bar.
Yeah.
Let me touch on that Hare Krishna thing.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about that because that's come up multiple times in my life in the past 2 weeks.
So,
the Hare Krishnas.
No, but anyway, in my past, I've had a lot of run-ins with the cops, and I'm not. I appreciate the police, but I also,
Sure.
And
same.
Anyway, so the Hare Krishnas were camped.
I'm so interested in this transition.
They were camped right next to us, and I don't have a problem with them. I think it's all interesting and cool. They brought all these big things, that they wanted our help with. They didn't say thank you when we helped them, by the way, at all. They were just entitled, we were Hare Krishnas, and we're here doing. I don't know. They just felt like
they had some of that Hare Krishna privilege.
Yeah, Hare Krishna privilege. Exactly.
Interesting.
And then anyway, and they were playing chanting music and stuff, and which I didn't have a problem with. I mean, there's so much racket going on there, that I didn't mind it at all. But this one guy, what should we call this guy?
Is it Grekowitz?
Yeah. Well, you just said his name, didn't you? Let's just. It says.
You can say Grekowitz.
Okay.
He's a pirate now.
Yeah,
basically, it doesn't matter.
So I'm just gonna call him Greg. Right. So anyway, he had a real problem with the Hare Krishnas, and he couldn't stand him, and they just infuriated him. Every single thing about them. And he had a mohawk, and he wanted to give other people mohawks, and anyway, at one point, I guess he invaded their camp. I'm not condoning this behavior, but they had some kind of a ceremonial iguana, like a lizard that was like it meant something to them, like it was a...
Wait, this is a living iguana?
A living iguana. He jumped over the fire and grabbed the iguana, and I don't know what he did with it, but they called the cops on him. And so... I'll just interject this. He told me he was certain that they were going to kill the iguana in some kind of ceremony, so he let it loose in the desert to be free. I didn't catch it as that. But so anyway...
I'm sure it died of starvation.
Oh my gosh.
I was not normally a guy
Do I need to apologize to the iguana people on this episode?
Yes.
I was normally not a guy that colored my hair or whatever, but one friend of ours always did. And I said, if I'm coming this year, I'm gonna do it. And so I had aqua hair. And then this guy, Grekowitz, one day he saw me. He's like, got a lot of hair there, and he wanted to give me a mohawk. I was like, okay. So come nighttime, beautiful sunset, tripping balls on top of his van. He's giving me a mohawk. Okay, so later that night, after the incident happens, the cops are coming into our camp, shining flashlights all over the place. And by the way, I had shamed 3-4 other people into getting mohawks, and other people had them too. So there's like 7 people running around our camps with the mohawks, but they were looking for a guy with a mohawk, and so they're shining lights all over the place, and they shine a light on me in my little back camp, and I'm like, get that light out of my face. It gave me like a chance to yell at a cop. And he's like, here's the guy. We got a guy with a mohawk. And I go, mohawk? I go, there's 7 guys in our camp that have fucking mohawks. There. Look over there. And the cop shines light. Sure enough. And he's like, stands down, He's like, walks away, like, damn it. I had to take that shit from that fucking lunatic with the blue mohawk,
I want to hear, Handful, about a story where you had the moment where you're looking at backcountry and going like, yeah, this is where I belong.
Maybe Deflategate, maybe flat country.
Yeah. Yeah. Flat country was big on social media. Let's talk about flat country. That was.
This is past my time.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. By the way, a side note: the pirate you were referencing no longer associated with backcountry.
He never actually was a bat.
Okay.
He never actually got patches or anything. But
okay. Just an important cover your ass moment.
Right.
Backcountry does not condone letting an iguana go into the middle of the desert to die of starvation.
No. We're kind to animals.
Okay. All right.
More so than to humans.
I'm guessing that the Hare Krishna sent out a task force looking for it, and I'm going to say they found it. That's what I'm going to say.
No, we don't know exactly what happened.
But I'm going to say that it would be a priority for them to do it, and that they would be diligent until they found it.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Flatgate. Tell us the background of Flatgate, reporting live from the scene.
Okay. Well, I was asleep for part of it, but I got woken up by a friend who's like, hey, we need help out here. We have an issue. These asshole sparkle ponies keep putting all of their bikes on they're up against our bar, on our flagpole, on our scaffold. Like basically, we were outside just across the street from Deep Playa where there's anywhere you could put a bike.
Right.
But
there's a major sound camp next to it.
Carl Cox.
Okay.
It was like, Carl Cox is playing.
Yeah.
And so everybody in the whole,
playground you guys were next to, maybe? I know there's a major camp next. I'm trying to remember.
I'm not sure.
I think it was Disco Nights.
Disco Nights? Okay. And then Carl Cox just happened to be playing. And then, of course, there's like a massive crowd of people and...
Right.
And I know that you were communicating to people, like, stop.
And we asked people, originally, one night that he was playing, please, don't put your bikes on our art. And people did, and they kept doing it. And so one of our...
They were locking it up to the art.
They were locking their bikes up to our art.
Okay.
And And at some point, they were just all these bikes, like completely from the bar all the way over. And I did the whole, came out to the bar and I got up on the bar and I did the whole kick the row of bikes over and watch them all go all the way out into deep playa. It was and then we didn't cut the tubes. We just deflated everybody's tires while their bikes were there. And we got called bad country and flat country. The Reddit thread on that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I love it. But yeah, I'm like, oh, these are my people.
It was a pretty big deal. And I would say next year, didn't people start coordinating a plan to lock more of their bikes over there as like the counter prank? But it looks like nothing got pulled off.
No.
Right.
And Carl Cox himself said, please don't park your bike at backcountry.
I appreciate that.
I did too. I think that was really nice.
Yeah.
That's the way you communicate with your neighbors.
Yeah.
It's nice to get a PA from Carl Cox, a little shout out.
Right.
That's amazing. I remember watching that like blowing up. And again, like same thing. I'm putting myself in the shoes of a person who might have been flattened. Like, all right, well, this sucks, but I'll find a way to like walk back to my whatever. But if you've like taken on that as the most disturbing, horrible thing that has ever happened to you, I don't know. I was not the victim of it, but I would love to at some point talk to people who did have their bikes flattened to see what that experience was like for them.
Yeah, I just think like if you come to backcountry and you're not expecting to get pranked, maybe you should rethink your trip to backcountry. There's something playful and fun about the way that we all interface with each other, and we're a little hard on each other sometimes, but we can all take it.
Yeah.
And not every sparkle pony out there can.
So that experience for you was like, all right, this is my camp.
Yeah.
So did you at that point start to express interest in being patched in? How does that work?
Well, when I camped was in backcountry in 2019, I was at that time prospecting. My sponsor is a friend named Nana from Canada. She's actually one of the younger bats.
Yay, Nana.
Yay, Nana. Shout out, Nana. Anyways, so she had come to my house in New Mexico up on our mountain and come to a party there with Momo, and then had come back a second time to come and hang out with me and spend a week with me while she was traveling and visiting all of the bats in the U.S. before the 2019 burn. And while she was at my house, she looked at me, she's like, how come you're not in backcountry? You're batty as hell. And that was when, and she's like, do you want to be a bat? And I'm like, oh. Yeah, I've never actually thought about it. But that was how I got asked. And so by the time I got to Burning Man in 2019, having planned to camp with all of these new friends, I was at the time, then that was my first year prospecting. So, and my time meeting a lot of the bats from elsewhere. Which last night at the play, I've also met like 6 new people that I haven't met yet.
That was going to be my next question. Like, how does that approval work? Like, you can't do 100%, right? Because people.
No,
are
we
all
have
over
we have an online voting form, and people can either vote or not vote, abstain from voting if they don't know you, and somebody can veto you. And if one person says no, then it's a no.
Right.
And I think that kind of helps make sure that you understand, like, oh, these are the people that would bail me out. Like when I first met Kip or any of these people, I know that they come highly recommended by people I already love dearly. Right. And so I'm hoping that they also give me that same benefit of the doubt. And they're like, well, there's some reason that she's here with us. And it kind of feels safe. Like these are... more than likely going to be either at least entertained by these new friends that I've met through this club.
Yeah. But there's a general movement of like, I can trust this person because enough people that I trust this person. Yeah. And that's really strong.
Well, and when you put on a patch on your back and you say, yeah, I'll be in your club, I think there's something like, it's not any other... You can take that commitment seriously or not, but I think you don't necessarily do it lightly.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah. And what's interesting is like being out east, a lot of happens out west that I'm not aware of. And, people get patched in that, so most of whom I've met now, but for a while I wouldn't have met like a number of them. And I'm just assuming these are people that I'll enjoy meeting, and when that happens, it's always been the case. So
yeah,
it's always nice to think there's like people out there that I'm looking forward to meeting. You know.
Yeah. I'm curious if, I mean, it kind of sounds a little bit like starting a regional, like some of that energy, because you came in as a backcountry vibe, that trickled down into that regional. Like if I went to that regional, would I feel more of a backcountry vibe than if I went to, I don't know,
Frostburn? Frostburn are hardy folk for sure. Like I said, I myself can't even do it anymore. So yeah, it's I imagine it's like, you know, like this year at Burning Man, you know, experiencing that for like a whole week, except it's, you know, cold weather, mud and snow. And so, yeah, the people who want to do that, I think it's certainly a hardy experience and something like, you know, love burn.
Yeah.
So,
that's a good reference point. That's a good reference point. Because everybody's
nothing
excited.
against Loveburn.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to go to Loveburn. I hear it's fucking great.
I might. That's probably going to be my next burn, actually.
Yeah.
Is it really a thing?
It's like 8,000 people in Miami.
Yeah, on a beach.
Miami.
Yeah, the
On a
thing.
beach.
Yeah, it's like, my understanding is that it's on an island where you can see like the Miami skyline, and everyone who's super excited about it is like, we can go do all the fun Burning Man parts without getting our asses handed to us.
Yeah.
Which is the opposite of
and I think we're probably going to do like a mini scale backcountry, like maybe just a bar, but I don't know how much.
You're going to that thing?
I think so. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
When is that?
It's like, it's also President's Day or something. I think it's around the same time as Frostburn.
Really? I have some friends in Florida, and I'm kind of being called to
There
go
you
there.
go.
But
This is the announcement. Backcountry will be at Loveburn.
Shit, I might go with you then. Fuck it. Let's go to Miami.
Right.
I wanted to ask you three a question, and I have a tiny story, but it's about experiencing something at Burning Man that is so hard to explain. Like to me, it's a few things have happened that like are just ridiculous. Like let me tell my story, and I want to see if you guys have
only a few
similar situation.
Yeah.
Well, here's an example. Is that it's almost like I don't know, predicting the future or something. This is what happened for me. Is it was early in the week one year, and you know, you're putting away your day garb and your day goggles, and you're bringing night goggles, and you're bringing something to illuminate, etc. And it's early in the week, things are just being set up, and I decided to go out by the man, and it's probably a Tuesday, and there's like 1,000 people milling around out by the man. But when I was getting my things and going out for the night, I'm in my tent, and I pick up a corkscrew, and I'm holding it, and never ever have I taken a corkscrew with me at night. But I'm just holding. I'm thinking, why am I holding this? I don't know, and I just go, oh, I will, and I put it in my little pouch or whatever, and then I go out to the man, and I'm by myself, and I'm just out there milling around, enjoying seeing all the freaks and all the people. And then all of a sudden, this guy that was kind of like right next to me is wearing like a white tuxedo and a white top hat, and he turns on this sign that's above him, and it says "One Man Bar." And then to his sides, he had bottles of booze, and then like he flips down this little table that was like near his stomach, and underneath it had an ice bin, you know. And then he's like, "One Man Bar, step right up. Who needs a drink?" And then somebody's like, "Can I get a gin and tonic?" He's like, "Yep, gin and tonic." Boom. And he even had limes and gives the guy a gin and tonic. And then some guy's like, "Looks like you got a bottle of wine there." And he's like, "Yeah, sure enough." And he pulls out and he goes, "Damn it, I forgot my corkscrew." And I'm standing right there and when I hear the guy say, "Bottle of wine," he's like, "Damn it." I was like, put it in his hand like before he could even finish saying corkscrew.
Yeah.
Another Burning Man miracle.
No, yeah, absolutely. That kind of stuff I've experienced over and over. I remember my first year, my friend Helen, who was one of like sort of like my earliest mentors in this process. She had told me that atheist most of her life, and then like 3 years at Burning Man made her go, there's something bigger out there. There's like something that I'm not physically within my grasp of understanding. And yeah, we've shared so many stories here. The first thing that pops into my mind is we did an episode 96 was called The Wind Whispers, and it was with Ryan Moore, who's the director, producer of Ignite. It's a short film about Burning Man. And he tells a story of a moment where he was waiting to get the approval from Manny Pacquiao's family about doing this documentary about him, which ends up being like the definitive documentary of him. And he's walking around on Playa, and he just randomly he hears this intuitive thought to turn on his phone. And his phone's been off the entire week. And he turns it on, and then like right then a call comes in from the Philippines.
Oh, wow.
And and they're like, you have it, you're doing it. Like it was, there's a lot of stories like that. There's something about it's the overlap of the physical environment, and then you bring together 80,000 people who are on this
the wavelength,
inexplicable, this wavelength.
It's like you're open. You people that are drawn to it are open. They're just, that's their mindset and their.
And I think when we put all of us in the same space, something happens that we haven't quite measured yet.
Yeah, it's like this alchemy, connectivity thing. Yeah, it's amazing.
You have any stories like that?
I have a story. I don't know if anyone else has ever experienced what they considered the occult at Burning Man.
I'm dying. But
so like 3 or 4 of us were like just walking like almost out near the trash fence, and then like walking back towards like 3 o'clock, and we start hearing this like a tinkling piano sound, and we come up on like this burned out piano, like it had literally been on fire, and this guy sitting at it like looks like straight out of like a Victorian novel, like big tall hat, but it's all burned itself. Like it looks like he's been on fire, and he's tinkling this like out of tuned burned piano.
Wow.
And it's just eerie sounding, and he's just glaring at us. Like it doesn't, but it's still mesmerizing. Just this image, and like it just something so out of context and so out of reality. And then a dust storm comes in, and we're trying to walk from it, and by the time it clears, we don't see him anymore, and we are somehow near 9 o'clock, and we're like, what the fuck was that? Like, what the fuck just happened? Like,
I have chills.
We were on drugs, but still, it didn't make any sense. And we were like, that was fucking weird. Like, that guy just opened up a portal or something and fucked us, and now we're at 9.
Whoa. How many of you were there?
There was like 4 of us, and who would all like agree that this happened. And, and it was one of those like, okay, yeah, there's something out here that's
that's some chills right
reality
there.
Shifting shit.
Well, because even before we started recording, when we were downstairs, I was mentioning like this experience that I've had where like trying to meet up with somebody on a particular dance floor at 10 p.m. And then like 3 days later, we interact with that person, and we're like, hey, we were there at 10 p.m. Where were you? They're like, we were there. I'm like, there was only like 7 people there. Yeah, we were there. We danced for like 2 hours. I'm like, how? What, did you access like another level of this dimension? Like, what happened?
Right. Yeah. Multiverses.
I'm sorry, I know I told the one, but this is another quick one. In 2002, the first time I went, I do surrealistic paintings, and I had a little book that had them in it, and I like to show people them. And so there was this Age of Aquarium, I think. It was like a nautical theme that year. But anyway, there was this VW bus that was turned into a bar. Like it had planks going along the side called the Chaos Bar, and they were our friends, and it shot flames out the top of it. Nice. And I love those guys, and I would go hang out with them a lot. And so we're chilling, and then hey, I want to show you guys something. I run over and I get the little book. And at the time I had done a series of that have like a crow in there. And so there's this older guy sitting there, and he's looking at my little book, and he's looking at a picture that has a crow, and then he's motioning to me like, look over my shoulder, you know, and I go, yeah, I did this series with the crow, and he's like nodding with his head, motioning for me to look over my shoulder, and I'm tripping, mind you, and I turn, I look, somebody rides by on a bicycle with a stuffed crow on the back of the bicycle, and I was, it gave me the chills. I was like, whoa. I go, you guys saw that, right? You guys saw that. And everyone did see it, and they're like, yeah, and I was just kind of, took a minute, and then a little further down, I had this picture where this guy with a camera head is tipping his hat to a rooster, right? And that was a painting I made.
Yeah.
And so the guy makes the exact same motion. He was on that picture, and he makes the exact same motion. And I just like look at him, and I turn, swear to God, I'm saying, guy dressed as a rooster drives by on a bicycle.
Wow.
You were manifesting all this.
And I was just like, what the, you guys saw this, right? And they were all like, yeah.
Amazing. Dude, that's so rad. I want to help me close the loop here. I want to come back to like last night's summit. Now having taken in all of the story as the newest sort of bat in the room and gone through this experience, like, I just want to connect again. Like last night, you were saying you met some people you hadn't met before. Were they like what you expected? I just want to like kind of finish the story with last night based on everything this journey we just went through.
I don't know. I guess I'm really looking forward to hanging out with him tonight as well. Because we went to the play, and then after the play, we were taking our group photo all together, something we tend to do. And the cast was coming out their door, and they were all very interested. Who are you guys? And so we got to meet all of the cast members that came out, and they were all so really nice. And but I think it's just a overall, I haven't met these people, but they're already my family. Yeah. And everybody treated me that way. I mean, I guess it's just kind of how we are with each other. It's kind of sweet.
Dig it. Yeah, I'm super appreciative to have this conversation recorded. I think it's definitely documenting Bad Country is an important part of getting Burning Man's story in there. But yeah, no, it's been exactly as entertaining as I anticipated it would be.
This is all off the record.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, we didn't record any of this. Don't worry about the mics or anything. But yeah, no, thank you. It's been lots of fun to get the story. I feel like we have a pretty good portrait of Bad Country's vibe by getting your stories in there. Thank you so much for all the work that you do for the community. Thank you for regional. Thank you for your time and place. Thank you, all of it. It's been, you're certainly very, very active participants and contributors to the community. And I definitely really appreciate all the work that you've done and everything too. And thank you for all your candor. This is definitely one of the top most entertaining recordings that we've had a chance to do.
I hope we see you at Loveburn.
Yeah. No, we're aiming for that. Let's manifest Loveburn and gosh, if it's like in like pretty Miami skyline, I wonder like instead of like a creepy burnt guy on a piano, like
we're gonna make it weird.
Yeah, what weird thing do we see? What weird thing in Miami?
I want to say this one thing. I don't know why this like noise associated with that country thing, but somewhere along the line, if one of us gets lost, like let's say we're going out to the burn and we lost somebody, we start going caw-caw, caw-caw, and then you'd hear
this
people
is not a sound bats make.
Like that's a crow noise, but for some reason it's a backcountry calling noise.
Crow works.
Yeah,
I think the crow works.
That's how you can summon us if you need.
Yes.
If I go look in the mirror and say "caca" and turn around 3 times, will
you'll
backcountry
see a
appear?
guy in a piano.
This guy will be behind you in a towel. It's going to be real creepy.
That's the best. All right. Thank you all very much.
you.
This has been lovely. Thank you.
All right, well, there you have it. Episode 145 of Burner Podcast with Backcountry. The music that you are hearing right now, you are listening to the sounds of Big Yachty. Big Yachty is Kip's DJ name. This is what he called a witch house set, which was recorded in 2008 on Playa. It's exact notes tell me that it has a really cool sample of Hunter S in the beginning. So we're going to play about a half an hour of that set. If you want to hear the entire thing, the link is going to be in the show notes. The set is called Backcountry Witch House by Big Yachty. Yeah, it looks like I don't know what the show notes says 2010 in Black Rock City, but in his email it says 2008. So it's one of those years. Anyway, if you enjoyed today's episode, please send this show to 3 friends. Just pick up your phone and text it over to them or email it. I don't know. All of the following that this show has is entirely based on word of mouth from you, our dear listeners. And we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Mostly me. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. But yeah, anything we've got, it's just people forwarding it over to each other because we've never promoted the show. I've never bought ads. It just feels like, this is the real nerdy inside the geeky beltway burner culture thing. And I like that our listeners are like the real legitimate participants, or a lot of times we'll get virgins who are coming to their first Burning Man and they get in and just kind of like devour multiple episodes of the show in order to get an understanding of the culture and the community. And that definitely makes my heart flutter with delight. And I'm happy to serve that space in our community. So yeah, help me out. Help us out. Forward it to each other. Text it to each other. As always, you are invited to pitch interviews in your neck of the woods or throw some dough in the tip jar. All of these links are over at burnerpodcast.com, where you will also find more podcasts not hosted by me, as well as other cool burner content. I have a vision of expanding that whole channel and bringing you lots more content. There's lots of good stuff in the works as we speak. So stay tuned to burnerpodcast.com. Burner Podcast is produced by a revolving team of volunteer burners. And this particular episode was produced by Feral Jesus. Tirelessly, he took care of a lot of the stuff for me so that we can just have this like amazing fun conversation with these awesome folks. The Burner Podcast theme music, America's Horse with No Name remix, is produced by Joman, based in Austin, Texas. You can find more of his music over at soundcloud.com/DJ Joman. So until next time, love, light, and all of the crap. Take us back to the playa. Big Yachty.
Fuck your burn.